It's just all about love and life and living in freedom. That's what it's all about for me now.
Welcome to the Rich Spinster podcast. This is Alexis. And this week, I watched a documentary that I had seen before. I watched it again because I love Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart has always been everything to me. Now, although I think I read somewhere that she wasn't a fan of this documentary, I found it to be interesting because they did focus on her business acumen. They focused a little bit on her personal life, though I wanted more, but I did learn that Martha Stewart likes rough sex. Okay, Martha, I feel you, girl. And they spent a lot of time focusing on her explosive empire post prison, because we all know Martha walked out of prison with her head held high and her shoulders back, not giving a good goddamn. Okay, Martha is a boss, and I have always respected that. First of all, let's talk about the fact that Martha Stewart is in her 80s, looking absolutely amazing. She looks amazing. And she's just living her life, running businesses, traveling, raising peacocks, posing for the cover of Sports Illustrated, and having cocktails on balconies, wearing a Roberto Cavalli caftan. Martha is living the dream. Hell, Martha is living my dream. And what I love about that documentary is that it speaks to her success, rather, speaks to the messages that women are always told. Be nice. Just be nice. A woman is supposed to be nice and pretty and sweet. Not Martha. Martha said, fuck all that. Fuck all that. Martha says, listen, when she wants something done, Martha wants it done when she wants it done, how she wants it done, and your ass better be on time when she says to be there. She knows how she wants those roses cut. She knows how she wants her gardens to look. And if that table is not set exactly how she told you to set it, you will be setting it 20 times until you get it right. Martha is not nice. Martha is kind. I believe that she is probably a doting mother, a supportive friend, and a loving partner. She is probably all of those things. She is probably everything to the people who know her and who truly love her, but she is not nice. And I respect it. Think about how freaking revolutionary that is for a woman her age to have lived this incredible life and have rejected nice. Martha Stewart is an example for women out there everywhere. And I always suspected that we shared something. I did. And now I know what that is, because I am not nice. I've actually never I've actually never said that out loud before. I am not nice, and I've never been nice. I knew that I wasn't nice as a child, right? That niceness lacked a depth and an authenticity that I had. I knew that I wasn't nice, but I knew that everybody expected me to perform nice. Sugar and spice and everything nice. And I would think that's what the fuck I'm supposed to be. That ain't it. Listen, I knew that I was not nice because I had one prayer that I prayed consistently as a child. And that prayer was, dear God, please don't let me be mean. And what that was really saying is, please be a fence around my mouth so that I don't say something today that will hurt someone's feelings, because I didn't want to be that person that hurt people's feelings, but I just couldn't help it. Inevitably, that would happen because I was honest. But I knew that I wasn't nice. Nice was something else. I loved people. I wanted to support people. I was a defender of people. Hell, Alexis means helper and defender of mankind. And I knew that being nice was not going to help me live up to that name. And that prayer, I guess it does seem like an odd prayer for a child, but I was always afraid that one day I would end up an old lady at 90 who would be yelling, "Get away from my door. I don't want any damn cookies. Fuck the Girl Scouts." I did not want to be her. So I was praying, Lord, please, at least don't make me mean. I actually didn't even realize how much of a hold that niceness had on society until I entered the workforce. I entered the workforce with education and excitement and skills and talents, and I was eager to walk through those doors and share that with my employer. But nobody told me that a part of that culture meant that I wasn't supposed to be open and honest. I wasn't supposed to say, I don't like that idea. I think that we can do better. I didn't know that that meant I wasn't supposed to defend myself and especially defend other people, because that's what kindness does. Kindness takes up space. Kindness says, I got you. Kindness often operates stealth, but it is there for you at all times and in all ways, in ways that niceness doesn't even scratch the surface of. Niceness to me, especially in the work world, was performative. I used to see people who acted like besties in meetings, but then outside of the meeting, they would talk about each other. They actually didn't like each other. I didn't understand why that was necessary, to build a team. We don't need to be nice. We need to be kind. And admittedly, I suffered in my professional life from not being nice. That wasn't an easy transition for me at all. And I had to figure out how to navigate that world so that I could honestly get a paycheck. But what I didn't do was perform nice for that paycheck, because it wasn't worth it to me. It never was worth it to me. Now, being nice has come up recently for me too. I I declined an invitation that I received via text message. When I declined the invitation, I told a friend who is also a friend of the host that I wasn't coming. She said, "What did you say?" And I said, "I told her I wasn't coming." And she said, "But what did you say?" And I told her what I said, and then I showed her the screen grab, and she said, "Oh my God, Alexis, you are so nice, nasty. That was so cold." I'm like, cold? I told the girl I was not coming to the event. And I really felt in my soul, like, if she can't handle me telling her that I'm not coming to the event, then she's got bigger problems than hosting. I never understood why I had to introduce what I wanted to say instead of just saying it. I didn't understand why I had to use such flowery language to tell someone something so very basic. And we all know that I do like to wax poetic, but it is only when I want to. I don't understand performing nice or what it gets anyone. I actually think niceness is why we're in the situation we are in as a country, because niceness allows people to talk about things publicly that they should not. Niceness allows people to spew lies and then just say, oh, it's just their opinion, which they have a right to. Niceness doesn't have hard conversations. Niceness doesn't make people feel uncomfortable sometimes. And sometimes in life, we need to be uncomfortable. Niceness doesn't challenge in a way that kindness will. I believe that if we had less niceness, less surface conversations, less pretending, we wouldn't be in this shithole of a situation that we're in right now as a country, because niceness lets things slide. And we are sliding off a fucking cliff, it feels like sometimes. Not kindness. No, kindness understands that if you let people slide, eventually they'll try to roller skate. I also knew that I wasn't nice when I became a teacher for 2 months. Yes, I was a teacher for a whole 2 months, and it would take a whole podcast for me to go into my experience as a teacher for 2 months. I had a class that was all over age. They were mostly boys, probably 90% boys, 6th and 7th graders who were all around the age of 15. These kids were brilliant despite their situations, which many of those circumstances were so incredibly heartbreaking. But we focused on kindness in that class. We focused on how we could support each other, what it meant to love each other, what that looked like every day in action. That was important to me. I actually had them, it was like the first week of school, and I had them memorize the lyrics to a song that I really liked at that time. It was Emily Sandy's My Kind of Love. And she said, I can't buy your love, don't even want to try. Sometimes the truth won't make you happy, but I'm not gonna lie. But don't ever question that my heart beats only for you. And the chorus was, so when you've given up, when no matter what you do is never good enough, when you never thought that it could ever get this tough, that's when you feel my kind of love. And I wanted them to memorize the lyrics to that song because I wanted them to know that though I wasn't going to be the nice teacher, I was going to be kind. I was going to give them what they need. I was going to trust them, and that would be reciprocated. I was going to respect them. I wanted the best for them. And that doesn't look the same way it looks for other people. And, it's funny because they did memorize the song, and I would play it sometimes. And I remember one of the students telling me, Miss E, my mama loves that song. She plays it all the time now. I love that I gave that to them. But when I really realized that wasn't nice was I had a student who had gotten in trouble in another class. And so they gave him an option. You either go to in-school suspension for 3 days, or you go to Miss E's class for detention for 3 days. He chose the in-school suspension for 3 days and told the assistant principal, you don't understand, she's a bitch. Then I was like, what? He was a good student in my class, relatively good. And when I saw him later, I said, oh, I heard what you said about me. And he looked at me. He said, no, Miss E, no disrespect. You can't help it. It's just your personality. And I had to laugh. Because he was right. It's just my personality. I can't help it. But he knew that I loved him. And he knew that I was disappointed that he was in trouble. And I knew that he loved me too. I think about those kids a lot, actually. And I wonder if I had an impact on them like they had an impact on me. When I left that school, I left and gave some of them little notes. And one note I wrote was to a girl named Precious. And I said, Dear Precious, you will always be so precious to me. And she used to always say, when she first got in my class, she was just like, oh, Miss E is so mean. She is so mean. But we fell in love with each other. And I think about her all of the time. I hope she is living her life. I hope she is successful. I hope she is happy. I hope she is loved. And I hope that she is kind. Because I understood with that population of students that they needed kindness more than empty niceness. I hope they all have it. Also at that school, I remember there was an incident with a girl in my class who liked me, but she didn't like me this one particular day. And I don't remember what happened, but I told her to sit her behind down. Sit your behind down. I used to tell them all the time, if I have to come out of this seat, I'm going to jail today. Listen, y'all, I'm not a teacher, okay? I told y'all I did this for 2 months. Now, admittedly, I had to learn tact. And I hadn't really thought about tact in my life until I was telling a friend of mine about a situation. And I was like, girl, I said this, and then this happened, and this is how she reacted to what I said. And I'll never forget her saying, Alexis, just as you are receiving other people, know that they are receiving you too. I I had never thought of that. I had never thought about the impact of my words. Like I knew that I knew not to be rude, but I just didn't understand that there was really a person with feelings on the other end of my word, because what I was using as an excuse for just saying anything was, I'm just telling her the truth. All I said was the truth, not thinking about the impact of how I said things, or like, and who did I think that I was, that I could just throw daggers of truth and not even care about where that arrow landed, how it pierced. I had to learn that there was a time and place for everything. And I could do that. I could have tact without compromising my authenticity, without compromising being kind. Learning that was a process. Hell, some days I feel like I'm still learning that. Some days I'm like, well, what does the motherfucker want me to say? This is just like what it is. But we owe each other more than that. We owe each other more than just telling the truth. I had to learn, like, yeah, I owe you kindness. I owe you kindness with that truth. Maybe the kindest thing that I can do in a moment is to not say anything. Because oftentimes when people are telling you things, they don't want your opinion. They just want you to listen. And so I started being more responsible with my words at that time. Now, let's be clear. I still say whatever the fuck I want to say when I want to say it. But I'm not out there reckless with my mouth in that way. And I don't want to be. I don't value that kind of thing. It's kind of the reason why I don't look at reality shows, honestly, because I remember tuning in to one of those reality shows, Real Housewives of something, and I noticed a couple of things. The first thing I noticed was, where are they going? With this full face of makeup, full lace front wig, and stilettos at 2 p.m. I was like, that looked like a lot of work. I couldn't relate to that. But what I really noticed from those shows is that they valued niceness and had very little kindness. And I see why people find that entertaining, because it is entertainment. That's what niceness is. It's not real. And it's why I really have always stayed away from those shows, because I've never wanted to invite that into my life. That's not fun for me. And the valuing of shade, like who can throw the most stinging comment to that person, that's not something that excites me. And that's not something that I personally want to emulate. Also, because I know that I can do that well. And I don't want to sharpen those skills. I want to be better. I want to be better than that. You know who I also loved as a kid, who I thought wasn't nice, because she was always covered as being wild and bold and reckless and free, and that was Grace Jones. Grace Jones was absolutely stunning to me. I remember actually the first time I saw Grace Jones, the first time I actually saw Grace Jones was like in a Playboy magazine. I don't know where I was. I think I was at my uncle's house or something. I don't know, but I was napping in a room and there was a Playboy magazine in that room. And I looked at the magazine and I was like, oh my God, these people are naked. And oh my God, who is that? That is Grace Jones. And she was so beautiful, so dark, so strong. And I looked at her in that moment and I thought, that is what God looks like. I always thought if God had a face and a body, that God would have to look like Grace Jones. And I would see interviews of Grace Jones, and she was always interesting and wild and said things that nobody else would say. She was always grinding on men and women, which she is still doing now. Have y'all seen Grace Jones perform lately? I saw a clip of her on Instagram, and Grace was on stage, still beautiful, still dark, still bold, with a strong body. And she was wearing a thong and getting her whole life. Yes, Grace. you still look like God to me. But I admired that. I always admired women who were strong and fearless and who people often said were bitches. I have been called a bitch a time or two in my life, and that is a message, I think, of control. Fuck that. I ain't gonna be nice. Oh, and also, it's not just being nice. Let me tell you what gets me. It's doing things just to be nice. That is something that I reject fully. I do not do anything just to be nice. And guess what? I don't want you to do anything for me if you're doing it just to be nice. I don't believe in obligation, right? That's not my ministry. I think you do things that you want to do when you want to do them for the people that you want to do them for, not out of obligation. Obligation offends me to my core. It offends me to my core to have to do something just because I'm told that I have to do it just to be nice. I'm not sending that birthday card just to be nice. I'm not texting you to check in on you just to be nice. If I do any of those things, know that that is coming from my soul, that I really want to do those things. That used to drive me fucking crazy to have to do something out of obligation, something that I really did not want to do, something that it didn't even fucking make sense to do. I'm just doing this to be nice. And I used to hate when people would say, oh, just do this just to be nice. It doesn't put you out of anything. The fuck it doesn't. It puts me out of time. It puts me out of peace. And sometimes it put me out of money. I don't do anything out of obligation. I do it because I want to do it. That is how I live my life. And let me tell you something. That's not always easy. That's not always received well. It doesn't mean that I don't care. You know what? Sometimes I don't care. Like sometimes I don't care. But listen, when I care, you'll know it. You'll know when I care. There'll be no question about it. Shout out to the women like me who are not nice. Shout out to the women like me who are not sugar and spice and everything nice. Shout out to the women who are savory. I am savory. I am like homemade stew on a cold day. I am your grandmother's arroz con pollo. I'm collard greens with skillet cornbread. I am savory. And savoriness is dependable. Savoriness is intimate. Savoriness sustains you. It's comforting. It's home. Thank you for listening to the Rich Spinster podcast. Be kind to yourselves this week.